How do you feel about Wallace and Gromit?
Wallace and Gromit is fucking awesome. It rocks. It is beautiful. It's funny. It's very detailed. We watched the first Wallace and Gromit feature film, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. And we were watching it. My partner was getting into it. They like Wallace and Gromit too. They never really
Yeah.
grew up with it. And I didn't really either. But when
Mhm.
we were watching Curse of the Were-Rabbit, I was just like, oh yeah, this is very familiar. Because I think they would play it on like Nickelodeon during Halloween and stuff like that. It was way more familiar than I thought it was going to be. Like I didn't even think that like I had seen it before, but watching it, I was like, yep, I definitely have seen this movie. And it's really great. It's really funny. I've heard like this new one is a little underwhelming actually, but we're still gonna watch it.
I think it's worth the watch. Like you, I've never actively watched Wallace and Gromit, but my childhood is very much imbued in Wallace and Gromit. And I think it's just from having cartoons on in the mornings, particularly on Saturday mornings. And so I have a lot of memories of Wallace and Gromit. And the claymation here is as incredible as ever. I mean, claymation is just such a specific art form, and I'm glad that people are still giving money, even if it is only like Wallace and Gromit. And it is a Netflix original, which, we've complained a lot about Netflix, and I think there's a lot of serious problems, but this is what I think streaming services should be doing. And this was originally, way back in the day, Netflix's plan, supposedly, when they released things like Roma and The Irishman and a whole lot of other stuff that was really big for the moment, was that instead of releasing these sort of very big films that need to make $1 billion, they were going to bring back the mid-budget film. They were going to bring back niche films that maybe a giant audience didn't love, but because of streaming services, it didn't matter, right? You didn't need to sell to everybody. And obviously, this is still a thing. I mean, the streaming services still do this to some degree, but it's not to the degree that it should be. I think we're not going to get away from streaming services. They're going to continue to exist. So I think they should be sort of more niche, and because they have the luxury of being able to create things that don't need a wide audience, right? They don't have to worry about the box office. Netflix, Hulu, Disney, they don't make money from these streaming services. I think you need to recognize that they're not making a profit from their subscriptions. They're selling your data. Just like TikTok, just like Instagram, just like YouTube, just like all these services. Probably whatever you're listening to on this, they're selling your data too. And Netflix does the same thing. And so, at the very least, if you're going to sell our data, give us something in return. And Wallace and Gromit is just frolicking good time. Claymation's kind of always been a bit off to me. It's kind of like puppets. Andrew, I have a great fear of puppets. I don't know why it is.
Honestly.
I don't know what it is about puppets, but they've always terrified me. And claymation is near that. I wouldn't say I'm terrified of claymation, but always something a little off-putting about claymation that just doesn't hit me right. But I mean, Wallace and Gromit are back at it. It's very funny. It's very well written. The claymation's incredible. Does it live up to the Wallace and Gromit of before? Maybe not. I can't speak as an expert here. You've probably seen now more Wallace and Gromit than I have, so you'll probably have more to say when you watch Wallace and Gromit. But I have seen a lot of the shorts. I'm very familiar with Wallace and Gromit, and it still has all the humor of Wallace and Gromit. I think one of the incredible things that makes Wallace and Gromit so brilliant is their use of physical comedy and how much of this film, like there's actually very little dialogue in this film, which is incredible. Just how much of a story can be told through physical actions and just these absurd, silly, amazing moments. If you look on Letterboxd, I did only give it a 3 out of 5 stars. That really has nothing to do with Wallace and Gromit. I think it's an enjoyable time. It's just more of my own problems with claymation, which isn't their fault at all. I think it's definitely worth the watch. If you're a big Wallace and Gromit fan, you might be a little disappointed. It doesn't live up to the shorts, but the shorts kind of work in their own separate way than features. So I'm very impressed by claymation. I think it is an incredibly difficult art form and is definitely a underloved art form. There's not enough people out there that do claymation. And there's something about claymation that you can just do more with. There's just something physical about it that I don't think you get in traditional animation, whether you're talking about 2D or 3D animation. I think you're always kind of missing something where claymation, because it's a physical thing that you're actually shooting. I don't know, there's just something very tactile about it. And that's what I love about this piece.